Hello everyone, my name is Ali Levantric from Alpha Zero class. Welcome to my UTA Tool subject. Well, I actually wanted a better slideshow than this, but OBS Studio didn't allow me to pass into the slides, so we are going to make the harder way. So I, you can excuse for me for this situation because I couldn't find a solution for this. Well, let's start. The feature of the computer science. Well, before we start talking about its feature, we better start with what is computer science and what skills do you need for computer science? Well, let's start. Introduction. What is computer science? Computer science is the study of computers and computing, including their theoretical and algorithmic foundation and their uses for processing information. This is the basic definition of the computer science. Well, now let's talk about the skills you need. First of all, you need to have very good math skills for computational tasks. And for second, you need to know a lot about technology and obviously computers. And for third, you need to have a very good analyze skills for also you need this for computational tasks. Now, let's talk about hardware and software. What is hardware? Hardware is the physical parts of the computer, such as monitor, keyboard, mouse, speaker, and many more we can name of. As the name seems, hard. These parts are you can touch physical and see physically. Well, for software, it is the collection of instructions and data that tells computer how to work. And again, as the name seems, soft. These parts can't be touched physical or can't be seen physical also. These two things, hardware and software, is the essential part of a computer. And here you can see codes from a software language. And top of that, you can see a CPU from a computer. And in this picture, you can see many people working with computers. And here's an example of how computers solve a computational task on an algorithmic decision. And as you can see, the lower ones goes to the left and the higher ones goes to the right to solve these computational tasks. And you may think that looks pretty slow because it would take very long time, but I can assure you this is much more faster than it looks. And as you can see, there's a perfect decision. Well, now let's talk about milestones. I know there is a lot of milestones for computers, but since we have limited time and since it is pointless to put them all in here, I only choose what I thought important and near to our age. Well, in 1623, we had our first mechanical calculator made by Blaise Pascal. You may recognize them from the chemistry lessons. And after 2 centuries and 50 decades later, we had our tabulator and its punched cards. A more technological way, various thing of a mechanical calculator. And after 2 more centuries later, in 1914s, we had ENIAC and Addison of Berry computers, which we can name as the fathers of the computer. And in 1916s, the first research for time-shared computers and internet research were started. These are I think, the most important milestones for computer science. And here you can see various desktop mechanical calculator, mostly made from irons. And since they're made from iron, they're pretty heavy and you're unable to carry with you, so they only use in specific places. And here you can see one of the first tablet machine and punched cards. And here's more technological version of a tablet machine and its computer control panel made from IBM. And here's ENIAC, the father of the computer. nearly as large as a room, or maybe two rooms. Pretty big compared to today's computer. Well, now we can finally talk about topics about the future of the computer science. I know it takes a lot of time to come here, but I think it was important to talk about computer science and other milestones. So now let's start. First, artificial intelligence. If you watch Boston Dynamics robots, you can understand why I put them in the first. These robots are getting better and better every day. In fact, they are getting more intelligent and they are getting more agile. They are in a position that they can do not many people can do. And it was a very, very great improvement for artificial intelligence and for robotics. And I'm curious to see what happens in the future about these robots. For seconds, medical and research ones. Well, let's give an example. A surgeon operation and you're a surgeon. You have a scissor in your hand, you need to cut somewhere, and one wrong move, and the person may lose his life, which is pretty tragic, right? But let's think if we give this task to a robot that knows what to do and where it is, and you will just say, do this and do that, and be careful about this situation, and we have an emergency. This way would be more quick and obviously more safe than instead of a surgeon. And I do believe that we will see robots in medical things and operations instead of surgeons and doctors. Third, communication. Communication has gone very well so far. They improved very well, and it's not like they are going to stop in the future. Well, let's give an example. Back in the day, people used telegraphs, and now there's cell phones. Well, what is the basic of cell phone? We use it for communication, but do we really use it for communication? No. Now we can go to the internet, hovering on the social media, playing games, watching videos, looking to our emails, and many more you can do in the cell phones. And let's think there will be a device so we don't even need to use cell phones anymore. And we will just think and the thing will happen and we send waves to other people and maybe we don't need to talk anymore to communicate with the other person. 4. Education. Well, we are in the middle of a pandemic. Since the coronavirus came out, we are unable to go to schools and universities. But still, life goes on and education must go on. So what do? We use various programs like Microsoft Teams, Blackout, Zoom, and many more. And these programs are helping us to the continuing our education. Well, in the future, let's think there will be a device and it will be carrying knowledge with chemistry, maths, biology, physics. I mean, people are spending a lifetime for understanding one subject, but instead of it, after 5 seconds with this device, you will have all knowledge that one person can't even do in a lifetime, which will be a great improvement, and I do believe we can see them in the future. 5. Scientific research and engineering. Well, let's give an example too. A bridge construction. What do you need? Workers, engineers, and many more. Well, since we are human, we're all born to make mistakes, and the failure is in our blood. So let's say instead of workers, if we could use robots, it will be much more quick and much more better than instead of workers' job. And instead of engineers, we would use supercomputers for calculating and planning the construction, and also quicker and better instead of engineers. Well, Here's a tricky visualization of the Gauss-Liouville model for 4,000 neurons, which is used in neuroinformatics. And here's some artificial intelligence examples. And here you can see a person's anatomy with robots made from human's anatomy. And here's a match with the robots. They are playing football, and there are some leaks in the foreign countries. And since you can see on YouTube, I advise you to watch it, one of their plays. It's really enjoyable. And here's a basic communication map. And in the left, you can see an example of rendering and a computational geometry in the right. And since we are already using those, but I think they will improve in the future later and we will use them frequently. Well, now let's talk about the problems about the computer science feature. The first problem would be a loss of jobs. Well, let's give an example too. There was a lot of tailor back in the day, years ago, and now there is not much tailor left now. Why? Because the machines are better than tailors and they are more quick than them. That's why these tailors lose their jobs and there is not much tailors anymore today. And narrower intelligence. Well, if you have watched a film named as Wall-E, the robots doing everything of people jobs. So people doesn't even have to work anymore. They will just lay wherever they want and eating and enjoying. They only do what they really want, not working. And they don't really use their brains better since they don't need to use and they are getting more fat, which is pretty obvious. Conspiracy theories. Well, that's the part I really like. There's a lot of conspiracy theories hovering around the world that, let's say, let the software engineers write codes for robots, then robots takes the place of software engineers. Why? Because robots maybe can do it better. It is like a Frankenstein film. You create this monster and this creature takes over your job or maybe your life. Or like in Matrix, people makes robots, then robots gets more intelligent than people and they take over humans' life and enslave them. Yeah, these are various there are various conspiracy theories and people think that we don't really go with the artificial intelligence because they will eventually be better than us and they will take over our lives. It might be true, but I don't think that's going to happen in the near future, so I'm not really into this situation. And in here, you can see a medical robot that could be used in the future. And on the right, you can see industrial robots. And to the lower left, you can see one of Boston Dynamics robots we talked about. Looks like a dog. And here's Matrix that we talked in the conspiracy theories. Well, that's the last of my presentation. Thank you for listening to me, and I wish you all have a better year than 2020, and goodbye.